Bacho Saginashvilli against Rino Masic at King of the Table 10 is set to steal the show. Already touted as potentially what could have been a main event, these two absolute killers, both at 19 years of age, are emerging quickly within the arm wrestling world as the next generation of elite. Bacho, of course, coming from that Saginashvilli bloodline, which, of course, is dominated by Levan Saginashvilli as the number one arm wrestler in the world, is somebody who really is showing huge potential. He is known for his explosivity off the go with an enormous hand, his ability to hold on to opponents out of straps and force them into uncomfortable positions is very, very well known. His hand is very impressive. He can hook, he can top roll, but he is quickly making waves. But of course, the Croatian Rino Masic, on the other hand, is equally making an impact in the arm wrestling world. Both of these guys have been winning world titles in the youth division and even in the seniors division as well. These guys are very quickly moving up the ranks. Now, one noticeable point between these two is the difference in weight. Now, typically speaking, Rino Masic is the bigger man. He has been competing in the 110 kilo category when competing in WAF, where Bacho competing at the 100 kilo. Now, I believe these guys will be much closer to weight when they face, and that will be a factor, of course. But what we are going to do in today's video is going to dive into the stylistic breakdown of these two elite arm wrestlers and look at how the match could potentially go. We won't be necessarily making predictions or picking favorites. We're just going to have a look at all the potential possibilities in the way that this match might break down.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Bacho Saginashvilli!
Oh, Bacho Saginashvilli.
Welcome Rino Masic!
Okay, so let's first of all talk about Bacho Saginashvilli. When I think about Bacho as an athlete, I see a very well-rounded arm wrestler, somebody who has the ability to really take a match to all spectrums of where the sport can go. He stands at about 6'1" tall, 100 kilos, has a very broad hand. He can hook, he can top roll, and he usually manages to read a situation very well. He has explosive side pressure off the go, and many of his matches are just over in the first moments. He isn't someone, if I had to say there is one side of him that I haven't really seen displayed to that same caliber, it would be his endurance, his ability to win and grind out a long match. However, Bacho possesses such a significant offensive weapon in his hand that it sets him up to be so dominant. Now, I think of arm wrestlers like John Brzenk. John was always somebody who liked to cup and contain and then roll. Now, Bacho straight away makes me feel the same way. His hand is clearly his biggest weapon. He has a great bicep as well. I mean, his strict curls are enormous. He does 100 kilo strict curls and makes them look pretty clean. But it's his hand and his ability to get wrist flexion and subsequent pronation that accompanies that wrist flexion that truly sets him apart. It's what other arm wrestlers fear in him most of all, and it's what gives him the ability to disengage his opponents. When he faces top rollers, he sends them inside first. When he faces hookers, he top rolls first. He is very much a counter arm wrestler. He's an anti-hooker. He's an anti-top roller. He will take you wherever you don't want to be. He rarely will be forced into a lane. Bacho is the man who dictates things. Now, one thing to note about Bacho is he is the shorter man in this situation. And yes, he has a larger hand, but he has a shorter forearm. Now, this does play a factor for someone who is an offensive-based arm wrestler. There really will be the prerogative for him to disengage Reno. If he is unable to disengage Reno and it becomes about a power game, that is going to bleed him out. One of the reasons why short arm wrestlers don't have the ability to last a long match is the longer you are in the match, the more likely and the more vulnerable you become to losing access to your rotation. You rarely see a short arm wrestler be very willing to commit their shoulder, which is something, of course, that Rino Masic does very, very well and is very happy to do so in this match, I'm sure. So look for Bacho Saginashvilli to absolutely do everything to keep this almost a no-load setup with an explosive start with an ability to finish very quickly. Okay, so now let's talk a little bit about Reno and his style and what he will be bringing to this match. Now, Reno is the larger man. He's got a bigger frame, a taller guy, a longer arm. However, he does have a smaller hand from the base of his wrist to the fingertip compared to that of Bacho. Now, Reno is known for amazing back pressure. If you've seen him training, you'll see him with cables, regularly lifting 70 kilos plus, in very strict and very impressive looking back pressure. Now, even though this might be something that you would think, okay, surely he's just going to top roll, the hand of Bacho Saginashvilli is so significant in its control that look for Reno to actually draw on what is some people would call his B game, but it is certainly a weapon in itself, and I'm talking about his ability to press. Now, Rino Masic has developed a game where he has genuine weapons on both sides of the spectrum. From his tall frame with immense back pressure, he maintains threat both in the top roll and in the press. Now, he is someone who is happy to get dug down into a battle as well. We've seen him grind out great matches against people like Terrence Opperman. He can hook for a long time. He can really dig in. And being the man with the longer arm, he's going to have that opportunity that the longer the match goes on, the more technical opportunities through fatigue that he will gain to climb over the rotation of his opponent. His ability to put his shoulder behind will be probably the way that he goes in this match. That enormous hand of Bacho Saginashvilli is so intimidating that even someone with Rino Masic's back pressure through the load of the setup will be intimidated in respect to attempting the top roll. The top roll may happen later in the match if he is getting the advantage and the fatigue is starting to set into Bacho, but I think we're going to see Rino Masic really coming forward with his shoulder, much like he did in attempting to beat Matyshenko. He didn't get that victory, but he did get one round off him when he was able to explosively get that shoulder in. I think Reno is going to be looking to do the same thing against Bacho. Now, one thing about Rino Masic, if we have to talk about vulnerabilities in this match in particular, is that he is going to be telegraphing where he's going. Bacho, on the other hand, gets to play the game where he can maintain a neutral ground with his hand and he can adapt moments, even microseconds before the go. But for Rino Masic, I think we are going to see him have to declare his hand. The reason I say that is because I don't think he has the confidence or the ability, despite all the back pressure he has, to top roll Bacho Saginashvilli. And I say that because of Bacho's hand. I think Bacho's hand is too good for Reno's hand. And even though the arm of Reno is longer and the arm of Reno maybe has a slight bit more bicep strength, I think that will be the path that will not work for Reno. I think Reno is going to be hunting the press. I think he wants to get in fast. But the risk for him is that to do so, he must declare that hand. Bacho will see it coming, and there is always the risk then of the perfect counter being done. So this match is a dangerous match in that respect. It could be the firing of bullets back and forth with each guy getting flash pins, and then rounds being traded, and not ever being particularly clear who is the dominant man. So at the end of the day, stylistically, this is a very interesting match. Not only is it two junior world champions and youth world champions, next generation elites, these guys are bringing a very interesting stylistic clash. I think most likely we're going to see Rino Masic coming forward with his shoulder. He's going to load heavily with his back pressure to try to maintain a degree of significant outside threat. That static back pressure will allow him the opportunity to cut off and get over the pronation of Bacho Saginashvilli. However, if we look at the history of the way Bacho Saginashvilli has defended against presses, he does it very well. Expect Bacho Saginashvilli to also load with a low hand top roll, but not actually fully commit to top rolling his opponent. What Bacho is most likely to do is to load up a top roll with a low hand and then in fact drive sideways and wrist flexion and actually go into a high hook. Bacho is someone that wants to just read the play, see it coming, and deny it with his hand and side pressure. For Reno, he just wants to get sufficient down pressure on. He wants to defeat the pronator of Bacho Saginashvilli and get it into an arm-on-arm battle. If he can do that, he will win. If he can't, he will lose. It is almost that simple. I can't see a circumstance where Bacho Saginashvilli wins the match if it is wrist on wrist and rotation is even. Of course, Bacho can win the match if it somewhat stops and Reno is exposed and the rotation is barely secured. And now, if that happens, we may see the B game or the even C game of Reno come out, which is his flop press. He does possess a flop press when he can't get anything else. He can go there. Now, that is an all or nothing sort of Hail Mary move that we might see. Is it enough to get through Bacho? It's going to be time to tell. It's going to be hard for us to know because, look, Bacho, again, he will see that coming. And sometimes when you see it coming, you can counter it. When you've got a big hand like Bacho, that's a great opportunity. But also, people like Jerry Caderet and Kamil Jablonski have made famous the fact that they declare, here comes a flop press. What are you going to do about it? Can Reno do that? Reno has had success with the flop press in the past, but it's usually been of a surprise nature. If his hand is being declared and he's showing it up front that that's where he has to go, I think Bacho will probably have the ability to counter it. But it is a fantastic match. It is a very interesting match. As we said at the beginning of this video, it could potentially steal the show, and it already has stolen the show in many respects. Many of the fans are more eager to see this than anything else because, as we said, these guys are the next generation of elite arm wrestlers. They're dominating the world championships at the junior and youth level, and they're on the verge of dominating the senior level as well. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe. Let us know your thoughts.